motherfucks. It's Monday night, which means it's time for this week's Raw review up in this piece. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, before we do that, we got to talk about, what's it called? The subscribers, motherfuckers. I've gotten like 5 or 6 new subscribers since my last video, but if you're a subscriber, again, and you want a shout out, then you got to say something in the comments because it's possible that I don't see you as a subscriber, but I do see a few people that I don't recognize. Chain Gang, we talked about Chain Gang Jr., but welcome again, Chain Gang Jr. We got Wilson Colon, or Wilson Colon, Wilson Ass, I mean this bitch. Welcome, Wilson Colon. I like you already, I like your name. Hopefully it's not your real name. Don't make that mistake, man. Don't do it, dog. Then we got Caterpie911 as a new subscriber. He also says, subbed. Keep letting the hate flow through you, brother. I like that. I like that, Caterpie. Caterpie is the first Pokemon that Ash caught. It's also the first Pokemon that I caught back in the day, motherfuckers. So there you go. There you have it up in this bitch. I actually played the game before I started watching the anime when I was a child. Because Pokemon was really big. I don't know, what was it, what? In fourth grade? Maybe 5th? I don't remember. But it was still big. You know, so, yeah, motherfuckers. Welcome, Caterpie911. And with that being said, now we can talk about this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. And we have a lot to talk about because there was a lot that happened in this episode. I think overall, I'd have to give this episode a solid score of 3 out of 10 because it wasn't that good. But it was better than like if I had to score 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, I'd give it like, you know, there was like that one Raw where there was like 8 jobber matches. That one gets a 1 out of 10. So this one gets like a 3 out of 10. So still subpar, you know, not good, right? But yeah. Well, but before we talk about that, let me just mention one other thing. I didn't watch SmackDown, but I heard that Kofi Kingston is now blonde. All right. I mean, can this guy become more cringy? Like, can he put out more of an argument as to why he should never have been WWE champion? You know, he's like almost 40 with blonde hair now. And he was wearing like a cutoff shirt, so he looks like a broad. So I don't understand like the appeal for Kofi Kingston, but you know he has been decent in the ring. I mean he botches a lot, but he's exciting. You know he tries to be exciting, and he's been exciting a few times in his career. Not recently, you know what I'm saying, but that first feud with Orton back in the day that was all right. So he can suck my pickle. That's all I say about that. Now let's talk about this week's Raw, motherfuckers. The show opened up with Rollins coming out with the Cucks. They're all wearing black suits, except for Rollins, who's wearing a black suit, but he's not wearing a black shirt. He's wearing like a t-shirt, right? Buddy Murphy's there. Compared to like AOP, he looks like a fucking midget. He's a small dude, man. I mean, he's like, he looks substantial compared to like Aleister Black, but he's not a big guy. And this guy, in my opinion, they're wasting their time with him. You know, like there's a few people they're just wasting their time with, right? As a lot of them are on Raw apparently. So hey, there you have it. You know. Seth Rollins cuts this promo. He refers to himself by his new moniker, the Monday Night Messiah, which I think is extremely stupid and forced. Now, if you're gonna give Seth Rollins some Messiah type gimmick where he's like recruiting these people through like, you know, his unparalleled charisma, which he doesn't have, so you can't really do that. But if that's what the role you wanted to go on, then you kind of do what they did with CM Punk when he grew his hair out super long, when he was the straight edge Messiah, I think he called him too. So, but that made sense because he like behaved differently. You know, his gimmick was totally different. Like at this point, he was like just like espousing his British beliefs as being superior, and he was pulling people like Luke Gallows out of like, you know, drug addiction, which was a good and fun way to explain Festus, who was this doped up retard, right? Who wasn't really retarded, but like for some reason, some people put him on drugs and made him into Festus, right? And then CM Punk saved him and made him into Luke Gallows. Ever since then, Luke Gallows has shredded some weight, so that's kind of good, but no one really gave a rat's ass about that either, motherfucks, right? So they come out and so if you're gonna do the same thing with Rollins, give him like a Messiah thing, like grow out a beard so he looks like Jesus, kind of, right? They're obviously going, you know, that show on Netflix, Messiah. They're obviously going for that because I was hot a few weeks ago when this like started. No one really talks about that show anymore, I don't think, but you know, it was hot for a few days, and I think they wanted to go off that, right? So if you're gonna make them like that, just go all in. Even give them a new finisher or something, you know, like call it like, you know, I don't know, the Messiah Complex, or you know, or the Godsend or something like that. You know, something that kind of boosted forward. Because beyond that, just calling him the Monday Night Messiah doesn't really add anything. You know, it just seems like a waste of a nickname. Like nothing would change if he was still Monday Night Rawlings, except he'd be a face, I guess. So it is what it is. So, anyways, then Owens and Samoa Joe, two fat fucks, come out, right? And they give some disappointing news. The news is that the Big Show is out. The Big Show has been removed by being put through a table and stomped by Rollins. Now, everyone gets stomped by Rollins, and they don't go out. For some reason, Big Show is out. The reason is because Big Show has better things to do with his life than, try to put over this nonsense, right? But this takes the interestingness of this segment and this feud down to -10, motherfuckers. This was atrocious, right? Smo Joe, as Scott Steiner calls him, Smo Joe says like, yo, we gotta fight. And Rollins, you're an asshat. He calls him an asshat. I think he thought this was gonna go over immediately, where people would start chanting asshat, and no one did. No one cared. It was whack. King tried to put it over a little bit. Let's see. Maybe he'll do it again next week. He probably will. He called him an asshat twice. There you go. At a certain point, they Smo Joe and Kevin Owens, Sloppy Joe, as I like to call him, right? They challenged them to a fight. Kevin Owens dropped the mic and he's like, well, why don't we have a fight? Right? And Rollins is like, no. We're not going to have a fight unless we do it on our terms. And then Samoa Joe says 3 more words and Rollins is like, you want to fight? Come fight right now. What the fuck? What was the point of that? It made no sense. So Kevin Owens is like, well, we forgot to tell you that we're not in this fight alone. Viking Raiders come out in a weird ass fat guy alliance, right? They come out, they go and they clear the ring, they beat the shit out of everybody involved, right? This segment was just a waste of time. This feud is stupid. There's nothing interesting about this. It's just a bunch of mid-carders pretending they're main eventers. Now, if you label this the mid-card feud that it is, hey, it's a good little thing to pass the time with, but that's not how they treat it. They treat it like it's a big deal. Next, we had Andrade versus Rey Mysterio to determine the United States champion, as well as who will be representing the Latinos in the foreseeable future, right? I don't know why both of these guys can represent the Latinos, you know what I mean? Rey Mysterio can represent the face Latinos, and Andrade could represent the bad Latinos, if that's how they want to do it, right? But nonetheless, they have a match, right? The match, I thought it would be good, but it had some good spots, but it had a lot of botches. And the pacing of the match was such that Rey Mysterio would pretty much do a move, right? He'd botch it, right? I don't know if it was his fault or Andrade's fault, because he tried to do one of those flip power bombs on the ladder onto another ladder, and he fucked up, and Andrade was forced to jump backwards to sell the fact that Mysterio threw him, right? And he didn't even break the ladder. So there's that, right? And then Andrade would roll out of the ring, and Mysterio would slowly climb up the ladder, right? And last second, Andrade would come in and prevent him from doing it, right? This ended when I think Rey Mysterio hit a 619 and then started climbing up the ladder, right? Oh, God. And then after that, the obligatory Zelina Vega spot, which everyone that knows wrestling predicted that she would interfere somehow, right? So she comes up, climbs on the ladder, effectively preventing Mysterio from grabbing the title unless he pushes her off. And because Mysterio is a historic face, he's not going to do that. Mysterio is one of the only people in the history of WWE that has been a face his entire career, you gotta love that about Rey Mysterio, He hasn't even had one momentary lapse into being a heel. He's just been a face for 20 years straight, motherfucks. So anyways, she gets up there. Andrade comes from behind, hits the hammerlock DDT, La Sombra, on the ladder that's positioned on the ladder that they're climbing, breaks the ladder finally, climbs up, gets the title. Meanwhile, Zelina Vega goes outside and rips off the padding from the ringside, right? Because they're going to try to put Rey Mysterio but they're going to try to DDT him on there to take him out, much like they did Humberto Carrillo, right? Then, as Andrade is preparing to do it, a wrestler in a mask comes out. At first, I'm like, oh shit, it's Dominic Mysterio, Maybe he'll debut or something. I don't fucking know what's going to happen, right? That would be a good little match at WrestleMania, Mysterio and Dominic versus 2 jobbers, basically, right? But no, that's not what happened, motherfuckers. That's not what happened. What happened was, immediately you realize it's not Dominic because, the guy was, in much better shape than Dominic. He takes, the guy who interferes, takes off the Rey Mysterio mask to reveal that it's, guess what, motherfuckers? Humberto Carrillo, who fights him off and saves, quote-unquote, his hero, Rey Mysterio. The logical conclusion to this, now that I think about it, is this. In the next week or so, after the Rumble, Humberto Carrillo turns to Rey Mysterio, joins Andrade. Then at WrestleMania, we have a nice tag match, Andrade and Humberto versus Mysterio. and Dominic, right? And then like Dominic can win by after hitting a 619 on a frog splash or some shit like that, right? That'd be kind of nice. Maybe be a nice little WrestleMania moment, you know. Like if they want to make it Mysterio's last match, that would be a really good way to end his career. I think Mysterio's always said he wanted to be like his son's tag partner at least once. That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, but nothing really interesting about this. I mean, they try to like. My idea is much better because they keep trying to make Humberto Carrillo happen. You know, it's like if anyone's watched or remembers the movie Mean Girls starring Lindsay Lohan, cucks, right? There's some girl, some broad in the movie who's like not relevant, I don't think, and she's trying to like make the word fetch be like she's trying to put over the word fetch, right? So she wants to be like, that's so fetch, it's so fetch, and then at some point someone's like, yo, stop it. You're never going to make fetch happen, right? And this is exactly how I feel about Humberto. Stop. You're not going to make Humberto Carrillo happen. No one likes this guy. This guy sucks ass, you know? Like, you might as well put a mask on him and make him Sin Cara 3, and that would probably get him more over, honestly, because this guy is just a loser. So anyways, then we have, honestly, I hate to say it, but probably the highlight of the night, motherfucks. We have we had this, like, what's it called? Package about what's his name? MLK, motherfucks, because it's MLK Day. Happy MLK Day to all, right? I'm gonna say a few things about MLK. MLK, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest American that ever lived, right? It's either him or like James Madison, maybe, or something like that, right? MLK is fucking awesome, man, and the package was really good because it showed MLK and all the wonderful strides he did and made, and then it showed a bunch of pictures of like white people and black people laughing and smiling together, and that's a beautiful thing. It really is, like I am the hater, motherfucks, but it touched me, and I'll explain why it touched me, right? It touched me in the context of modern day socio-political climates, right? The way that the world works now is like they've pretty much pissed on MLK's legacy, right? MLK, I've mentioned this before randomly in my videos, but MLK has said that one of the greatest things ever, it's a philosophy not unique to him, but it's a good philosophy, right? Which says that we should judge each other based on the contents of our character and not, motherfucks, on the color of our skin. And you can expand that to other things. We shouldn't judge on sexuality, nationality, anything like that. And not just the character of someone's skin, but any kind of accomplishment should be judged on the individual level, right? So like, for example, if you're, I don't know, Japanese, right? The Japanese or Jewish people, right? The Japanese and the Jewish people have accomplished a lot, right? They've been successful in a disproportionate amount, right? So have other people, don't get me wrong, right? But if you're like Japanese and you have this like cult, this idea of like superiority, the question becomes, what is it that you've brought to the table? Random Jewish guy, random Japanese guy, or random black guy, or random white guy, right? What have you specifically brought to the table, right? This is exactly what MLK was trying to say. He was trying to say that like, yo, you are you. You're not your group, right? That's the primary point of that is, I have a dream, motherfucks, and the dream is that we judge each other on our individual character, right? Not our group identity, the color of our skin, right? And in today's socio-political climate, all we see is what we now call identity politics, right? Which is this idea that the identity of the group matters more than that of the individual, right? This can be used both, like, I don't want to say for good or for bad, but it can be used both to advantage someone and disadvantage someone. So for example, if let's say you have the misfortune of being robbed, right, by someone who happens to be Hispanic, right? Now, you can use identity politics to just conclude that all Hispanics, including Humberto Carrillo, motherfucks, are bad people and are robbers, right? This would be fundamentally flawed logically, and this would be fucked up because of course, we know through common sense and personal experience that there are plenty of good Hispanic people, just like there are plenty of good white people and black people, etc., right? And on the other side of the coin, this can be used to kind of shelter other people, right? So you can be like, well, these Hispanic people were like, oppressed, therefore I'm oppressed too. So please cater to me, right? And this is also bad. This is also something that MLK would not want. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what is the hater, a dirty white boy, know about MLK? Well, I'll tell you this, motherfuckers. I've studied these things quite in detail for a big part of my life. So I know quite a lot about this. And if you don't, I suggest you go and read Letter from Birmingham Jail and educate yourself, cucks. But the point remains, right? Identity politics are tearing this country apart because you have, let's say, like Black Lives Matter or any kind of, or like Latinos or like white people, including normal white people, as well as like white supremacists, right? Who have this idea of like, it's us versus them. And it's not us versus them, right? Or maybe it is us versus them, but it's not us, the whites, or us, the blacks versus the other people. It's us, the good people, versus us, the bad people, right? Now you align yourself however you want, you know? If you want to be gay, align yourself with the gays, right? But do not put precedence over that, over fundamental human values like character and integrity. That's what MLK was saying, you know? Like, you shouldn't judge a gay person because he's gay. But if he's an asshole, right? The fact that he's gay doesn't shelter him from being judged for being an asshole. And that's what identity politics have led us to, right? Where it's like, I'll watch a movie, right? And I'll be like, oh, the person that appears to be bad is a black lesbian woman, right? Then I conclude immediately and with certainty that this person will somehow end up being good by the end of the movie. And this was a true story because I watched the movie and that's exactly what happened, motherfuckers. She turned out to be good. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, she's gonna be a good person. She's like, why? I'm like, because if you're a minority on TV now, you can do no wrong, right? And the implications are that if you are one way, right? If your skin color is one way, or your gender is one way, or if your anything is one way, then you and that entire group are innocent and good, right? Which is ridiculous. Just the same way that it is ridiculous to say that because a few black people, let's say, murdered someone, that all black people are bad. That's equally poisonous, you know, and that's what we're not grasping here. And that's why people like Trump, motherfuckers, won, because people are tired of that. And there comes a point where you push people and people are like, well, wait a second, you want to play this identity politics? All right, fine then, motherfuckers, us versus you. Let's see who wins, right? And that's not good for anybody, you know, especially it's not good for people like me, and I'm sure most of you, right, who grew up, let's say, in cities or cosmopolitan, metropolitan areas, or have had the privilege to travel around the world or perhaps around the country and have met people of different religions, different faiths, different skin colors, different orientations, different anything, right? And we have been able to bond and become friends, and sometimes very good friends, if not best friends, with people that are not like us, right? And when people tell us, oh man, now you got to divide yourself, like, oh, like my best friend's black. Too bad, motherfucks. You're white. Different groups, enemies, right? No. That's not how it works. And that's not what MLK would have wanted. And I know that I've been rambling on about MLK a little bit, but being that he is one of the greatest, in my opinion, historical figures of American history, and pretty much, like, I mean, Gandhi did it too, but MLK on a very large scale pretty much laid out the foundations of the argument and passed the argument through of, hey man, just because I'm different from you, just because you don't like me because how I look or how I behave or whatever the case may be, right? Please don't treat me like shit, you know? Please treat me like a human being. Treat me the way that you would treat someone who has my character and is your color or your gender or whatever the case may be, right? Treat me like that. That's all I ask for. Martin Luther King wasn't saying, oh man, like, please bend to my will because we've been oppressed. No, he was saying, hey man, can we have the fucking same rights? And that's why his message was so effective. And that's why it found a very powerful audience in a time like the 60s where people were divided, right? Now that we are, in my opinion, more united than we were in, like, let's say in the 50s, right? Things are going the other way. People are like, oh, well, you know, I'm like a transgender, so if you don't believe that everything I say is correct, well, then you're a transphobe, right? And MLK would not be down with that, motherfucks. So recognize that in yourselves, and let's move on to the next thing. So after we had MLK come out, the next thing to celebrate MLK and to celebrate black people, Black comes out. And by that, of course, I mean Aleister Black, motherfuckers. The skinny, fat vampire martial artist comes out, and he fights some jobber who he spin kicks with the black mask and beats him in about 3 seconds. Complete waste of time. Aleister Black needs to do something. Now, I am not opposed to Aleister Black specifically as a wrestler. I don't even think he's that bad. Like, there's an interestingness to him, right? He looks like a guy that can kick your ass, even though he's a little skinny fat. He looks like a menacing dude, right? So what do you do with people like this? You don't book them to beat jobbers, right? I understand WWE doesn't want to make any like big stars because then they can The Rock or Stone Cold or John Cena their way out of the company eventually, right? But you have to have that. Like, there's no way around it, man. You have to have someone who is just a huge badass, right? And I'm not saying this person should necessarily be Aleister Black, but the example I can think of is TNA. right? Back in the day, they pushed Samoa Joe to the moon, right? Samoa Joe was out there just destroying people. Like, he was beating up Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, and not just beating them up, but like choking them out, like referee stoppage, like collecting their blood with a towel that he would wear. You know, it was awesome, right? And it pushed Samoa Joe over. I mean, at that time, in 2005, 2006, Samoa Joe was probably like one of the best wrestlers, like the way he was booked, right? And it was so special because you're like, oh, wow, this guy is fucking awesome, right? He was a heel. You weren't supposed to like him. Like, you're supposed to cheer for AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, who do the flippy things and who are awesome, right? But you have to respect Samoa Joe. So when he turns face, you're like, fuck. Like, when Kurt Angle came to wrestle him, it really felt like a dream match. But it didn't feel like a dream match because, like, of any reason other than the fact that Samoa Joe has not been beaten by anyone in this company. You know? That's the key here. That's the key, motherfuckers. And then after Kurt Angle beat him, let's be honest, pretty much after that, I mean, he won the title eventually, but pretty much after that, he just kind of fell off the map because it was like, dude, you've already been beaten, right? But so you don't have to do that. You know, you can keep someone like Aleister Black strong, but they're trying to do that by having him beat people like Buddy Murphy and Nameless Jobber, right? They're doing the same thing with Eric Rowan. It's like, it's not going to work like that, you know, because once he's exposed, the argument then becomes like, all right, hold on a second, Doug. Eric Rowan beat 15 dudes in a row, but lost to like Ricochet, let's say, right? Someone like Ricochet is going to be the first person to beat Rowan, right? Oh, he lost to Ricochet. Well, Ricochet's been losing to everyone for the last few weeks, right? So where does that rank Eric Rowan? Lower mid-card, motherfuckers. That's where it ranks him. So that's why it's a complete waste of time. You know, if they want to push someone, I'm not saying do this for everybody, but pick one, man. Pick one once in a while, right? And give them like the same thing they did with Asuka, right? They kind of fumbled the ball a little bit, but Asuka's getting a title shot. Asuka's like a tag champ, you know, like you build someone up, you're like, oh, this person's been so dominant, right? Then she continues to be dominant in the main roster, wins the Rumble, and then boom, she loses to Charlotte. Everyone's surprised. Charlotte gets a huge boost in credibility, right? Because the argument has now become, damn, Charlotte is that good, right? So you can use this put over beast in such a way, kind of like they did with Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. Eventually, they fed him to Kurt Angle, and it was like, damn, Kurt Angle is the real deal. You know, not only is he good in WWE, but he's good enough to beat the guy that beat everyone in TNA, right? Automatic slingshot to the top, which Kurt Angle was going to get anyways. But this way, you justify it for the storyline. You're like, oh, this guy's like, he's awesome because not only is he awesome because he won the gold medal and because he's kicked ass in WWE, but he also beat your number one guy, basically, right? So that's what they should do with Aleister Black, but instead they have him beat a jobber, which means I don't give a rat's ass fucks. Then Heyman comes out, cuts the Heyman promo. Lesnar's there. Ricochet comes out. He sounds like a fucking pipsqueak. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to call this little twerp Pipsqueak from now on. So Pipsqueak comes out and starts like saying, Brock, my only chance. He cuts like the generic Pipsqueak promo, the generic mid-carder promo. My only opportunity for WrestleMania might be the Rumble. So I'm not afraid to fight. The word fear is not in my dictionary. So let's fight, Brock. Brock just walks away. And Ricochet's like, oh, are you scared? Right? Now, at this point, considering the fact that Ricochet challenged Brock Lesnar to a fight, right? Not a wrestling match, I don't think. I think he challenged him to a fight, right? And he questioned Brock Lesnar's bravery or manhood, if you will, right? At this point, as far as I'm concerned, Brock Lesnar is justified in destroying this guy, right? So Brock Lesnar turns around, low blows him, picks up the mic and says, not scared, and leaves. This was cool. It was cool because, like, Brock Lesnar, like, I was thinking during this promo, right? I'm like, aside from the fact that he attacked, like, Dominic Mysterio, you know, like, he doesn't really do much heelish things, right? He just wrestles pretty much clean. Like, he doesn't really cheat, right? He wrestles clean, right? And he just wins. People just dislike him because he always wins, you know? So, like, it's the same reason they dislike John Cena. It's the same reason that people dislike Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like, so, as a result, it's like, Brock Lesnar doesn't really feel like a heel to me, you know? But then when you low blow someone, it's like, all right, we've established that he's a heel once again. You know what I'm saying? But, so, yeah. I look forward to the Royal Rumble. One thing this episode did do was it did kind of set the tone a bit for the Rumble. Heyman put the Rumble over, explaining what it is, and said that Lesnar's going to be joining at number 1. Throughout the episode, people were talking about the Rumble. Like, the commentators were like during the Rowan match, which I think is like next or something, or in a few matches, right? Like, the commentators were like, oh, imagine if Rowan's number 2 against Lesnar, right? And this kind of repetition from a marketing standpoint puts this idea in your head. It's like, oh shit, not only is the Rumble in less than a week, but Lesnar starts, you know? That's a big deal, motherfuckers, because that means that it's going to start off well, right? Because you know it's going to be like Lesnar and like Drew Gulak or Heath Slater in the beginning, right? Or like Lince Dorado. And Lesnar's just going to F5 the guy and just throw him out. And he's going to do this to like 3 or 4, maybe 5 other people until like a Roman Reigns type guy comes out and pushes him to the limit, maybe like a Rusev, someone like that, right? Pushes him to the limit and like survives just enough, right? And then that person, I think it's going to be Reigns, if I had to guess, or like Orton or someone like that. That person's going to stick around till like the end of the Rumble. Like the last few people are going to be Drew McIntyre, Orton, Lesnar's going to be in the last few for sure, unless like the only other alternative is like Cain Velasquez comes out and like eliminates him like immediately, right? If probably doesn't want to like spend too much time, but which probably is what's going to happen because let's be real, like Lesnar's not going to stick around for 55 minutes wasting his time, right? But from a kayfabe perspective, the last two people should be Drew McIntyre, Orton, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins now, Kevin Owens. They're going to eliminate each other around like 25 or something like that probably. Then you're going to have a few SmackDown guys like Kofi Kingston. I expect him to do pretty well because he's Kofi Kingston. That's it though. Who else does SmackDown have? I mean, Roman Reigns, I just said, but everyone else like Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan are in their own match, so they're probably not going to even be in the Rumble unless Daniel Bryan shows up and does something, right? Then we're going to have a few surprises. It'll be a fun little affair, but it's good that it starts off with a bang, motherfuckers, with Brock Lesnar. So, yeah, this segment was all right for what it was, but it's just repetitive. It's the same kind of shit. Next, we have Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Now, this would be a good match, except for the fact that anyone that knows anything about wrestling could see it a mile away. That this is going to be a screwy finish match, motherfuckers. Screwy finish, like in a sense that there's not going to be a winner or a loser, right? Because you want to have both these guys look strong when they enter the Rumble. So, after a superplex, the OC come out and they start beating up Drew McIntyre. Randy Orton saves him with a chair. They beat the shit out of the OC. And then Orton RKO's Drew McIntyre. As Orton's walking away, Drew McIntyre gets a mic and starts cutting a promo. Drew McIntyre thinks that the mic is not working, so he asks for another one, which was a very shitty moment because it's like, come on, dude, like, how the fuck do you know, you know? Like, if you can't hear yourself, how do you know it's broken? But whatever, maybe some feedback. I don't know. Fuck no, my fucks. So anyways, and pretty much Drew McIntyre, as he's beaten, says, you know what, I'm going to Claymore you and I'm going to eliminate you. So that's like a little mini feud in the Rumble, right? Because neither of them are going to win realistically. So it's like, you know, they're going to have their little feud with each other, which might lead to a WrestleMania match, which wouldn't be the worst thing. You know, I could see that being a good match, even though we kind of saw it today, motherfuckers. It's different at WrestleMania. Nobody interferes at WrestleMania typically. So, you know, there's that. Then we have the obligatory Becky Lynch segment. She comes out, cuts the exact same promo she's been cutting for the last few weeks, except now says, I'm ready to fight Asuka. Asuka might be scared of me. Great. Why? Because she spat in your face? She's been whooping your ass. Like, just because she spat in Becky's face doesn't erase the fact that she's been owning her for like a year and a half. So we have Becky versus Kairi Sane. Asuka sits on the top turnbuckle, but like behind the turnbuckle. The match is like a piece of shit. A lot of botchy moves. Becky Lynch is honestly not a good wrestler. Kairi Sane, even though people are like, oh, she's from Japan, she's the best. No, she sucks too. Like, there's not that many good wrestlers, man. Like, as far as like women wrestlers go, like Alexa Bliss, I mean, I'm not gonna say she's like perfect or anything like that, but she at least understands, like, she has the charisma and understands what wrestling is as a medium. Then you have like Tessa Blanchard. I mean, I gotta say it, you know, she can put on matches with dudes. I mean, you know, she has moves. You know what I'm saying? So Becky Lynch is just not that good, honestly. I know she has a big contract coming up. I hope she gets lowballed up in this bitch. Just for fun, you know. She deserves it, though, because she has put herself over somehow. I mean, the machine helped her, too. But, you know, like, people do like her. So, you know, I hope she gets a payday out of it, I guess. But first, so anyways, Becky Lynch beats Kairi Sane with a disarmer. Asuka attacks her. Yeah, typical shit. Then we have Buddy Murphy and Rollins versus the Viking Raiders for the tag titles. Now, I automatically assumed this wasn't going to be for the titles, and I also assumed that they would lose. I mean, like, if it was for the titles, I could see them winning. But for the titles, I assumed they would lose. Not because, you know, Viking Raiders are a great team or anything like that, but because if you're going to have them drop the titles, why don't you have them drop them to AOP, you know, who are the tag team of this stable? You know what I mean? Furthermore, like, this is going to be a short reign because WrestleMania is around the corner. And I don't see Rollins, you know, going to WrestleMania for the tag titles. I mean, I guess it's possible. It could be Samoa Joe and Owens versus, you know, Rollins and Buddy Murphy, I guess, right? But this kind of brings up the point that poor Viking Raiders. Like, they joined this fight for no reason just to lose their titles. What a bunch of losers, right? So I would have had AOP win, and kind of give them like their moment, because not only does Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins win the titles, like, make no sense because they're not tag dudes, but more importantly than that, because they're in the same stable as AOP can't win the tag titles. So what the fuck is their point? They're gonna like wreak havoc over every tag team. Not every tag team, motherfucks, because the tag champs are their friends. So that was a really stupid move. Then we had the Street Profits doing their news segment. Had like R-Truth in like in some arena or something. No one really cared. Then we had Matt Hardy come out. Now, I've been watching little Matt Hardy vignettes on the YouTube channel. They're pretty fun. And a lot of people are like, no, Matt Hardy should go lead the Dark Order. I got the fuck out of here, dude. That makes no sense, But, and the reason I hate that is because, like, I saw, like, so here it is, right? They're like, Matt Hardy should lead the Dark Order. That'd be great. And the question becomes, why would that be great? Why? Because there was a point when Matt Hardy was like an evil guy. The broken gimmick does not work with Dark Order, who is supposed to be the serious group, It doesn't make any sense to make it a comedy thing. And believe it or not, cucks, broken Matt Hardy is a comedy thing. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, obviously, right? Similarly, I watched I didn't watch the whole thing, but I started listening to the Chris Van Vliet podcast or whatever the fuck it is, his interview with Vampiro, right? And so one of the comments was like, oh, Vampiro should join Nightmare Collective instead of Luther. I'm just like, why, man? Why? And then, like, why would someone want this? It makes no sense to have, like, someone like Vampiro appear there, right? I mean, I get it. Like, obviously, he's better than Luther, right? But Vampiro is, like, a recognizable name to a degree. Like, in AEW, he's a recognizable guy. All those people will know who he is. So it's like, he automatically takes the focus away from Brandy Rhodes, and the whole group is about Brandy Rhodes, right? Dr. Luther is harmless in the sense that he's a jobber and nobody knows who the fuck he is, right? But further than that, it's this idea of like, oh, they need a dark character. Let's put the dark character I like to make it more interesting. But how does that innately and inherently make it more interesting? If he had the same role as Luther, which is go in there, act weird, and do nothing, then how does that make it more interesting, right? Further, if Matt Hardy is like the leader of Dark Order, like the person that talks to the face, I guess, like the guy that cuts the vignettes, right? How does that help, right? I mean, it helps because Matt Hardy is like a legendary wrestler, quote unquote, right? He is. He's a legendary wrestler. So it's like, all right, like Matt Hardy can wrestle and he can like the Dark Order will get some prestige because Matt Hardy can be like, yo, I want to be AEW champion, and it would be conceivable because he's Matt Hardy, right? I guess that's the way it helps, but from a storyline perspective, it doesn't. Like, if anything, Vampiro would make more sense in that, right? Except Vampiro cannot be world champion because he's like 9,000 years old, and like out of shape, and like I think like he talked about some substance abuse problems. Hopefully he's all right, That's not even a joke about my folks. But Hardy comes out and gets absolutely no reaction, right? Which leads me to believe that the people on the YouTube videos are like, oh, Matt, Vince is like lost his mind. Like, whatever, dude. Like, none of them reacted, right? Nobody gives a shit about Matt Hardy anymore. He comes out and wrestles Rowan. So you know how this is going to end. At some point, Rowan puts his hand in the cage and the thing, quote unquote, bites him, right? So Rowan picks up the cage and slams her on the stairs like 3 or 4 times, right? Which is animal cruelty if we are led to believe that the thing inside is a living being. And if it bit him, it must be a living thing. So that's fucked up, Now, I don't really give a rat's ass about animals, right? Like, I mean, obviously we shouldn't torture them. We shouldn't be cruel in general, right? But I don't really care. So I'm not like, oh, super offended or anything like that. But I'm sure some people are like, yeah, what the fuck? I'm not supposed to be an animal, right? So I think that's out of the table now. I think what's going to happen is he's going to reveal that there's nothing there and it's all in his mind. And it's going to be interesting for about 2 seconds and people are going to be like, get this jobber away from me. Rowan beats Matt Hardy with the Iron Claw, which is stupid because Matt Hardy beat Bray Wyatt, which was the leader of the Wyatt family. And through the transitive property, he should have no problems destroying Rowan, motherfuckers. So anyways, that's what happened. Then, backstage, Mojo Rawley beats up the Singh brothers, who are after his 24/7 title. Mojo Rawley is the 24/7 champ. I think he won it last week. I don't remember, motherfuckers. Then we had this match. Now, for some reason, my DVR recorded 4 hours today, right? I don't know why. Typically, it records like 3:15 in case they go over or whatever from the days that they used to go over. But it kept recording, right? So the reason this is relevant is because this tricked me. It tricked my eyes as I was fast forwarding into not realizing that this was the main event, right? And also by looking at the match, I'm like, this just can't be the main event. Like, why is this the main event? It doesn't make any sense, right? In this card, the main event should have been either Rollins and Buddy Murphy winning the tag titles, or Ricochet and not Ricochet, Andrade and Rey Mysterio, right? That would have been a decent main event. Now, the second one wouldn't be a good main event because it would end with like Humberto Carrillo triumphant, which is just preposterous, But I guess whatever, fuck it, right? The match goes on. Lashley hits a spear on Rusev and wins. Now, I pray that this is the end of this storyline. Surely it will continue on to the Royal Rumble. If Lashley and Rusev are both in the match, Rusev will likely eliminate Lashley and get his comeuppance. But if this continues to WrestleMania, I mean, that is just the most preposterous thing ever. I'm pretty sure one of my friends said that they're doing Elimination Chamber again this year. I don't know if they do it every year now. I can't remember, right? But if they are, it wouldn't be inconceivable to have in the Raw match that it's not going to be for the WWE title, of course, because Brock Lesnar isn't going to. He's not going in that shit. But it's going to be for the number one contendership, maybe, right? Or something along those lines, right? They'll have one for the Universal title, and they'll have one for the number one contendership to Brock Lesnar's title, which of course means, motherfucks, that I think it's clear that the winner of the Rumble is going to fight probably Bray Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? So there you have it. With that in mind, it's it's not inconceivable for Lashley and Rusev to be in that match and continue their feud there. But if it continues to WrestleMania, it's ridiculous because there's nothing here, man. Like Lashley has whooped Rusev's ass, like he's pinned him like twice in a row, right? Rusev should not be mad anymore because he said specifically that he's not going to be mad anymore, right? Liv Morgan has no right to be mad in the first place because her argument is, oh, Lana didn't want me. Well, guess what, motherfucks? Lana also didn't want me, right? She also didn't want Lars Henry, motherfucks. Remember him? One of my original subscribers. She didn't want Lars Henry. She didn't want fucking anybody. She didn't want Isma Styles. She didn't want a lot of my subscribers. I don't even think she wanted Caterpie, and we know how we feel about him. Maybe she didn't even want Stephen Trudeau. That's a lot of people she didn't want. Or maybe Nicholas Kandra. Nicholas Kandra, one of the people that I agree with the most, honestly. Right? So she didn't want a lot of people, and if everyone who Lana didn't want, and she had a one-night stand with, just like she did with Nicholas Kandra, motherfuckers, right? If everyone that she doesn't want is justified in beating her up, then that's ridiculous, man. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So this should end immediately. Hit abort up in this bitch. Now, that being said, this Raw wasn't that good. But before I go, I'm going to take a few mementos, motherfucker, to talk about the Royal Rumble, right? Couple of things. Number one, Daniel Bryan and The Fiend are not going to be in the Rumble, obviously, right? The Fiend shouldn't be in there. But Daniel Bryan, he's one of the people that, I think if he were in the Rumble, he would be one of the favorites, one of the people that could conceivably win, right? Because let's face it, every year there's people when I talked about the Rumble at Benoit won, or maybe it was the one Mysterio one, I don't remember, right? But one of them, right? They had Carlito, Chris Masters, these people that were positioned to be big stars, right? They were obviously huge underdogs, but there was a remote chance that this could be the time where they pull the trigger, right? This year, we have Drew McIntyre that fits that role, like a dark horse, but it's all right, maybe they want to pull the trigger on him. Who the fuck knows? I highly doubt it because he hasn't been built up nearly as well as Carlito and Masters were back then, right? But other than him, right, it's like the only conceivable winners of the Rumble are this, right? You have to say Brock Lesnar is a conceivable winner. It's inconceivable just because of the kayfabe's, implications, right? Because then what? Then no one challenges him, right? So it's not gonna happen for that reason, right? But from a kayfabe perspective, Brock Lesnar is the kayfabe favorite, right? He's the champ. He's Brock Lesnar, so he's a serious contender, right? Then we have Orton, right, and Drew McIntyre, who are not serious contenders really, but they're this year's Chris Masters, right? Where it's all right, if Randy Orton wins, all right, it would be weird, but it's not this inconceivable thing, right? It is kind of, but right. Then you have maybe AJ Styles, but the way he's been booked recently, it doesn't seem very likely. Also, he hasn't shown any interest in being champion, so that takes him out of the running, right? But he would also be there in a Carlito role, where it's all right, he's not gonna win, but he'll have a strong showing, etc., right? But beyond that, motherfucks, the only people that could conceivably win this Royal Rumble are honestly Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan. Those are the only people that I'm like, all right, like Daniel Bryan's been feuding with the Fiend, right? Like Fiend beats him again. Bryan joins the Rumble, gets his last match with the Fiend, right? That's something that could work, right? Now, it seems like a waste of a Rumble, but it's one of the only options that they got. The other one is Roman Reigns just finally wins the title again since he came back, right? He never lost the title. It's the Universal title, so now it's on SmackDown, and he's never lost it. So that sets a story up nicely, right? Then we have like surprise entrance, right? So it's like people are, oh, Cain Velasquez might win because then he can fight Brock Lesnar. All right, that would be a huge mistake, but it could be him, right? That's it. Like, can you believe it? Like one of the people, like if Bryan's not gonna be in the Rumble, then it's either Roman Reigns or Cain Velasquez. I can't think of anybody else that it could be. Like at that point, the Carlitos start seeming like favorites. Like then you're like, oh, maybe it is Drew McIntyre. Like who the fuck else could it be, right? It's not going to be Kofi. It's like everyone that's been champion the last few years is unlikely to win, except for DB motherfucks and Roman Reigns, the big dog, right? So it's either that, or maybe it's like some big return. Like I doubt it. I mean, some surprise entrant type thing, but. Not even Triple H has been hurt recently. So it's almost WrestleMania, Triple H. It's time for you to come out and set up that match, motherfucker. So there you go. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about the Women's Royal Rumble, which no one cares about, but alas, it's here. The only people conceivably that could win are Charlotte or Shayna Baszler. Everyone else is not going to win, right? A lot of people think Shayna Baszler is the favorite. I'm taking Charlotte, and the reason I'm taking Charlotte is because Charlotte is clearly, like Becky Lynch is having her moment, but Charlotte clearly is the one that's going to be the best women's champion of all time, right? She already is, right? But it's her time is coming again. It's actually been quite a while since she's been like a real champion. Like I know she was WWE SmackDown champ or whatever, doesn't matter. I'm talking about like a real champ, like where she has like a title run that is like the main title run for women, right? So her time is coming. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go with her because it's weird to not have her win a Rumble, And like, I understand there's time to win Rumbles, but you've already had two motherfucks. You've already had two Rumbles, and one of them was Asuka, the other one was Becky Lynch. Now, the only person left is Charlotte. Because just like the WWE, like, women's titles, the Women's Royal Rumble is going to be won by everyone. You know what I mean? There aren't that many women to, they're going to have some NXT broads, I'm sure, but it's going to be, like, the Final Four is going to be, like, Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley, motherfucker, she's going to be in there, I'm sure. Charlotte, and probably like Sasha Banks, right? And maybe like Nia Jax if she comes back. There might be a few surprises like a Trish Stratus or some shit. But it's going to come down to like those four. And I believe that Charlotte should win. Shayna Baszler is cool, but Shayna Baszler can challenge for the other title. You know what I mean? Charlotte can win and go after Bayley, right? Or Charlotte can win and go after Becky Lynch, which is like the real match, right? Because this is like she beat Charlotte for the title, and she's been champion for a year. So it's the right thing to do. And then Shayna Baszler can go after the other one. You know what I mean? Like whoever is going to be the SmackDown champ or the Raw, it's going to be Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, but like Bayley can drop it to like a face. She can drop it to like Lacey Evans or something, right? That'd be a nice feud. Lacey Evans versus Shayna Baszler, like with Lacey Evans as the face. Like, trying to teach Shayna Baszler, who looks like a dude, to be a lady, and Shayna Baszler whoops her ass. That'd be a nice little thing. I would look forward to that much more than I would to, like, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, which is, like, just a cringe fest. So there you have it, motherfucks. Those are my thoughts up in this bitch. And then before that, cucks, we have WWE or whatever, NXT Worlds Collide, motherfucks. Let's take a look at the card for Worlds Collide really fast. This video has already gone over, so let's just kind of look at that and talk about what we're going to see there. In only a few days. I was going to say a few weeks, but it's all honestly just a few days up in this bitch. So we have Imperium, Alexander Wolf, Eichner, all of them, right? Versus Undisputed Era. Now, this is kind of cool because it has that like the Shield versus Wyatt family feel to it. Except the problem is that number one, there's no stakes here, right? And we know that most of these people are going to amount to absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong are not amounting to anything. Let's be real, right? They're not going to be WWE champion one day. Whereas the Shield and Bray Wyatt, at least, and even Luke Harper to some extent, you felt we're going to have successful careers. And then on the other side, we have Alexander Wolf, Fabian Eichner, Bartel, and Walter. Now, we're going to have to look at people's ages, right? Like Fabian Eichner, I think, is probably the one that has the highest chance of being like like the highest chance of being somebody. Like people will say Walter, but let's be real. Walter is not good enough to be WWE champion. I mean, like I like Walter, but he just isn't good enough. The only way these two factions work and the people in these factions work is if they come to the main roster like that and stay like that, you know? Like that's what we need. That's why NXT is cool, because they have factions, motherfuckers. Then we have Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. I don't know who the fuck Toni Storm is, I'm not gonna lie, so I don't give a shit. Then we have Finn Balor versus Rhea Ripley. Oh, Rhea Ripley is now like a normal NXT. That makes sense, right? Because it's an NXT person versus an NXT UK person. Then we have Finn Balor versus Ilya Dragunov. Obviously, Finn Balor is going to win, but that's going to be a good match, I have a feeling. Then we have Angel Garza versus Isaiah Scott, Jordan Devlin from NXT UK, who I don't know, and Travis Banks, who I don't know either. Fuck that guy. Then we have DIY. This is kind of cool. DIY versus Mustache Mountain. Now, this is just dumb. Come on. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? What the hell is that? Like, DIY came together to fight off some other people, and now they're going to have a tag match? And where's fucking, what's his face? Pete Dunne. Isn't he still part of Mustache Mountain? Even though now he's in normal NXT? Whatever. This is going to be a nice little precursor. I like the fact that they're taking some time to showcase like the NXT UK people, because thus far the only way we've seen them is like we've seen Imperium come to NXT once in a while, and we've seen things like Rhea Ripley become champ, Pete Dunne, obviously he was been in a few NXTs, and like that's it. Like Ilya Dragunov, I've seen him in like a random NXT UK that I watched. Some of these people like Travis Banks, I think he's the guy from like, you know, he's like the Kiwi guy or whatever. Jordan Devlin is like another Finn Balor. He's like the exact same thing, man. He looks like him too. He's the fucking same guy, motherfucks. And oh look, I just clicked on him. He's from Bray, County Wicklow, Ireland. There's no way. See, trained by Finn Balor. There's no way these guys haven't fucked. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like. Why don't they just do Finn Balor versus? That would have been smart. Versus Jordan Devlin and put Ilya Dragunov in the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match. That'd be kind of fun, I thought. But the whole Imperium thing, I get it. You have the NXT UK guy and the like all the NXT champs, but it's like, come on, man. You know, like put a title on the line. You know, like if you can have Undisputed Era win, put like all their titles on the line, right? And then they win. It'll make it predictable, but you never know, right? Or if you're gonna have Imperium win, put like Walter's UK title on the line. Like whoever pins, like whoever gets the pin becomes like a UK champ, right? And then like Undisputed Era can fight amongst themselves for a little bit, and Walter can win. You know what I mean? Like do something about it, right? So that's gonna be the main event, and it's like there's like 5 titles, 5 belts that are gonna be there, and none of them are gonna be on the line. It's kind of weird, motherfuckers. And that day is also like a UFC event, so I'll probably watch both up in this bitch. So there you go, motherfuckers. This video has been very, very long because I thought honestly it was gonna be very short. So I kind of kept rambling, and then before I noticed, we're at 47 minutes, motherfuckers. So probably no one's going to watch this whole thing, you know what I'm saying? No one's going to, but if you do, motherfuckers, I love you. I love you, motherfuckers. And if you made it this far, I suggest you hit that subscribe today button. Because if you're not a subscriber and you listen to 47 minutes of me, I think I've earned your subscription, cucks. You know what I'm saying? I've been growing very well, so I got nothing to complain about. But you can always grow more, motherfuckers. All right, bitches. See you guys. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow is not a wrestling day, so probably on Wednesday for AEW, motherfuckers.